Welcome back to the Anger Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, interesting. The events that have happened here over the last week. Errol Spence will get the opportunity to face Sebastian Fundora sometime in 2025. And apparently it'll only be for the WBC title since the WBO will not sanction the bout because Errol is not ranked in the top 15 in their sanctioning body rankings. Which is interesting considering the fact that Errol Spence was ranked in both August and July 5th and 6th respectively, and all of a sudden in September he was pulled out of the rankings. Now, we did a video about this yesterday. We believe that it's unfair that he's not ranked in the top 15, but hey, some of you may feel that that is perfectly fine. It is what it is. But he will get the opportunity to fight for the WBC title. Now, it's interesting because Errol has a lot to gain in this fight, specifically if he looks good beating Sebastian Fundora. Well, what does he have to gain? There's a number of options at 154 pounds those fights could easily be made, and they would be big money, marketable fights and an opportunity to unify in the division. You're talking about Tim Tszyu. Lubin's a big fight. Hey, who knows? Maybe he'd even be willing to get in the ring with Mel since he is no longer trained by Derek James. So a lot of options there for Errol Spence and big money fights. But one thing that Danny Garcia recently mentioned in an interview today that I had not contemplated whatsoever. And it's an interesting thought. I don't know if it'll come to fruition, but it is an interesting thought. I want to play what Danny had to say here quickly. I'm going to play just the audio so that you can hear Danny's thoughts on this, and then I want to react to it because, again, I had not thought about this as a real option.
I really don't know. That's a great fight too, though.
If Spence does get that victory, do you see him getting the rematch with Bud, and how do you see a possible rematch playing out?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he gets that fight, he might get a Canelo fight. He might get the Crawford fight. You know, you win that fight, you become unified. There's nothing but big things. I could really see him actually fighting Canelo if he wins that fight.
He could see him fighting Canelo if he were able to win that fight. That is interesting. Now, he did mention becoming unified. I don't think that has any bearing on whether or not he would have the ability to get the Canelo fight. I think it's more so about a big win where you look good in doing so. Now, personally, I would not favor Errol Spence in a fight with Canelo Alvarez. But, and I would even advise him to move up and fight Canelo Alvarez, honestly. But is it possible for them to make that fight? I think it is. Like, Canelo Alvarez currently is affiliated and associated with the PBC. And I'm pretty sure that PBC is interested in keeping Canelo Alvarez in the fold. So if that's the case, and Canelo Alvarez is happy with what PBC is doing, which I have reason to believe that he is, would he be interested in making the Errol Spence fight? Now, granted, I've been on this very channel saying that he has nothing to gain by fighting anybody moving up, because at the end of the day, what is that really going to do for him if he wins? We saw what happened with the situation with Mel. That did not work out well for Canelo Alvarez. So I could see Canelo saying, nah. And it would make sense for him to say, nah. But because they are technically affiliated, they're technically a part of the same entity. And if Errol looked real good against Sebastian Fundora, that fight could be big. It could be big because Errol just has a legion of fans out there that, you know, they support him. So that could be a really big fight for Canelo Alvarez. Could be a really big fight for Errol Spence. Now, the question would be, would a certain segment of the fan base, and when I say fan base, I'm talking about boxing fans as a whole, would they not support the fight specifically because, Errol was able to get the fight? Well, that's possible too. That's definitely possible, but that probably wouldn't be very financially impactful considering those fans really don't buy fights. So I don't know. I think there would be a lot of backlash on social media in regards to this fight, specifically from certain fan bases. But yeah, I don't know. It will be interesting. Now, I'm all for, and I've made this comment in the past, and I hope people can understand and remember this. But for me, you need to, when you're jumping up that many weight classes, in reality, you need to have done something at the weight class. And so looking at it from that perspective, it'll be hard for me to get behind a fight like that. But the other caveat that I've always added is if you're a draw, right? If you're a draw, then those things kind of get pushed to the side and you get the opportunity regardless, right? Like if Floyd Mayweather at 147, if Floyd decided that he was going to jump up and face Triple G at 160, nobody would have batted an eye. Because Floyd is a huge draw, and you're not going to blame Triple G. He's going to take that fight. When you can make a big fight that's going to really draw in a lot of people, people are going to make that fight. Similarly, I made an argument about someone else in regards to just drawing power and whether or not, I would get behind it. And I said, absolutely. I would get behind any fight if this individual showed that, they had the ability to draw to the point where, it made the fight was interesting. I'm like, hey, he should get the fight. I mean, he's built himself into a star, and a star at the level that, he commands a certain level of cachet in the sport in regards to being able to skip lines and things of that nature. So I have no problem with that. But we'll see, because that's a tall hill to climb, man. Sebastian Fundora is an awkward fighter. He's big, he's rangy, so it's gonna be difficult for Errol Spence to beat Sebastian Fundora. I think it's gonna be somewhat difficult for any fighter at 54. They'll have problems with Sebastian Fundora. Errol will have problems with Sebastian Fundora, but it'll be an interesting fight. And I'm on record saying he has to look good though. If he doesn't look good, there's no chance that he would get that Canelo fight. I mean, in reality, he shouldn't get the Canelo fight. But we'll see what ends up happening. You guys tell me what you think in the comments section. Is this something that you would be interested in the event Errol Spence actually looks really good against Sebastian Fundora? Like good, like old Errol good. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and I am out.